Yeah, no, so I think it's like a microcosm. You know, you fast for 3 days, the shit fights you a little bit, then it sees that you got some momentum, it goes dormant, it comes back on day 5 or 7, and then let you regrow your energy so it can take back even more energy. You know,
Okay. Yep. That makes sense.
I think it's a microcosm. It's just like you don't pick a plant when it's small. You wait for the plant to grow up, and then you start picking, from the plant or whatever, whether it's the leaves or whatever it is, however whatever, you know what I mean? You don't pick a plant when it's small. So I feel like you let this shit grow up, and I feel like that's the same thing with the parasite. Is like it's reached this point where like in any culture, man, from petri dish to a metropolitan area, whatever the culture is, like it's gonna eat its host, and then they're gonna eat them. They're gonna cannibalize themselves. Any culture is just destined for that. So like it's just the nature of a culture, of a cult. And so the
Yeah.
the parasite, I feel like, has reached that threshold where, like, all right, I can't support these numbers. If I continue to eat away at the aboriginals, the jig is up. So I have to stop at this point right now. I can't go really any further. I gotta go dormant to let them regrow so that I can, make my attack later. And I'm gonna just cannibalize all my people. I'm gonna cannibalize all my own. So through the vaccine or through whatever you want to call it, they're gonna cannibalize themselves. They're gonna cannibalize themselves through war. They're gonna cannibalize themselves through all these things so that they can feed that parasite. They don't really even know that's what they're doing. The parasite's the one making that decision. Because there's plenty of people I know, you met them, that they were like, yeah, I'll never get the vaccine, and then they end up getting it. It's because the parasite holds. It's almost like everybody's a government, and so if the parasite has more seats in the Congress of your body, it don't matter what you think or what you say. Even as the president, they can still pass that law if they got the super majority.
Hmm.
So I feel like that's how it goes. Like it's just a model after our bodies, a reflection of our body, our body's government. So I feel like that's what's going on. The people that are saying they wouldn't do it, the decision's already been made by the parasite to cannibalize. So they're all going to cannibalize each other in one way or another, so that the parasite can be fed and go as it goes dormant. It's just like cropping it's cropping its harvest, and because it can't go any further. Because on top of it, yeah, like if you eat away at the aboriginals too much, then you don't have nothing to eat. So you have to stop at some point. And I feel like that's
What
the reset point. I think that's what's happening. And
was that it the whole time? Like, actually, no, keep going, keep going.
yeah, no, I mean, I guess that I mean, that's kind of like the main gist of what I was saying. Like that, she's reached that threshold. The parasite, the queen parasite, has reached that threshold where it's like I can't support I can't support this no more. And that's like really what humanity is when they say like the depopulation agenda, like they trying to depopulate humanity, or like the Georgia Guidestones, like humanity should be kept under a 500 million and everything. I think it's probably true because humanity isn't the same thing as an Aboriginal. Is
Hmm.
humanity is the subspecies. So it's probably, I mean, if you have 500 million humans, it probably does work, and it probably will be like some type of harmonious system if you have a small amount of the subspecies, and then the originals are the dominant group instead of the other way around. So like, I mean, even one way or another, it's still more carbon on the earth than not, or it's more melanin on the earth than not. I'm just saying, like, everybody at this point has basically the albino mind. You know what I mean? Like the albino agenda is like air conditioning, heating, cooked food. Um, you know what I mean? Like this albino mind is just like
Yeah.
infected everybody. So you might be dark in color, but you might have the albino mind. You've seen people, dark skinned people, totally gone, totally colonized mentally, or spiritually, however you want to look at it, metaphysically. They're totally colonized, and it's like even though they're dark, they're a minion of the system. They're owned at this point by the parasite, and so I feel like it's just more of that than not that. And the parasite has reached that point though, where it's like, in order for me to live for another 1,000, 2,000 years or whatever, or maybe it's only a 200-year cycle, and the history keeps getting wiped every 200 years, and this is all bullshit.
That'd be
So
crazy.
yeah, that's what I mean. That's what it might be. I don't know, or maybe 400 years. I don't know, but like I think it's a lot less and more within reach than they're telling us. I think a lot of the history is not as far off as they say. So
you could really stage anything for an infant or a bunch of infants.
yeah, and if they're being raised by other clones, who would know?
Yeah.
You know, and then and like in the video I just was talking about, you know, it just talks about like the Odd Fellows or whatever, this supposedly benevolent group of people that was like creating these asylums for people, for orphans. You know, they had the Black Odd Fellows too. They were having black harems, producing black babies or whatever that they could farm out. You know what I mean? For some reason, man, you know, people got infected somehow. I don't know how it all happened. You know, I don't know the specifics of it. I guess I just get the gist of it. You know, like somebody got veined somewhere. And this shit just got crazy. Somebody got decadent and they were like, it's just the same as like, yo, I don't have to do the math. I could just use the calculator. And then, you know, a generation of doing that, now you don't know how to do the math at all. You don't even know how to, people don't even know how to write in cursive no more. So like, imagine 100 years from now, you'd be barbarians. Like if you just keep relying on the machines, and basically the human subspecies is the machine that, you know, that was created for this labor, for the slave labor. Like, and it's only a matter of time until that shit, the tables turn. I feel like if you really invest in that, in slavery, and not, you know, and looking at motherfuckers like they're just machines, the coin is gonna get flipped.
Yeah.
You know, and not to say that every Aboriginal has to pay for what maybe a few Aboriginals did. I just feel like that's what happened. You know, like motherfuckers just tried to rely on organic machines, which is just these, you know, incubator babies basically, or these grafted babies. And somehow, you know, somewhere or another, you know, life is going to make sure that the energy flips. And that's kind of where we at. I feel like it's just reached that point, you know, when they're talking, we're just, this depopulation agenda is not as long. If you're an Aboriginal, long as you just stay present, I think you'd be straight. But it's so many motherfuckers that's not present, whether you're Aboriginal or not. I feel like so many people are so traumatized at this point that the parasite's just banking on people never learning themselves.
Okay, so this is what I'm looking at. It's sort of like a queen parasite, right? If it was a queen parasite in this sector of the galaxy, and then on this planet Earth, there's these Aboriginals there, and then from the beginning however you infect one of them to get them to create from a broken place, so you can just make hella clones to breed for a few hundreds of years, and then that's like growing your crop. And then the depopulation is like just eating all the clones that you made from the queen parasite. You know, if I was a queen parasite, eating all the clones that you made from the Aboriginal.
Yeah, because like they're just diluted, basically. Diluted and GMO Aboriginals. We shouldn't just call them that. GMO Aboriginals or something. Like
that's all like albino shades.
Yeah, like not the first generation albino, even though that's still inbreeding at some level. That it wouldn't happen for no reason. But like, you know, after like multiple generations of inbreeding albinos, then you're definitely getting into like complete GMO. It's like you know, like tomatoes now, it's like an idea of a tomato. It's not even a tomato. Like, you know, it's at the point where Italians think that they have a right to the tomato, even though it came from the Americas. You know, like it's at that point now where it's just so discombobulated, the idea. You know, the alchemy involved or associated is just fucked. You know what I mean? Where people, you know, they think like, I'm this, I'm French, I'm this, I'm that. And it's just like, man, motherfuckers is just GMO. You know, GMO Aboriginals in some respect. But if you're in the grave, man, it's not like the parasites stop eating you. You know, it's still eating you. It's still eating the body until the body's completely gone.
And that seems like a process right there. Like, where are you getting transferred to in that process?
Yeah. And then it's like you're probably kind of trapped in there, hovering around the body. And that's another thing too, man. Like a lot of these cemeteries is Oddfellow cemeteries and Masonic cemeteries. So it's probably like just another grid trapping you in there, trapping your dormant consciousness in there, because you're just hovering around your body that's like trapped in this fucking artificial tomb, and the parasite's just eating you because you're like separated from the ground. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like, the parasite is just gonna eat up the rest of the carcass and doesn't have no competition. Like nature would normally compete with the parasites inside of you. If you die and bleed out on the ground, it's gonna be animals will come eat on you, whatever buzzards might come, different things gonna come eat on you. But if you're encased in this thing in the ground, then the parasite gets first dibs. It gets to pretty much eat the whole thing up.
That makes sense. But
So I feel
yeah,
like, yeah. So say it takes 200 years to fully break you down and fragment you into pieces, turn you into shit, and then the parasite just feeding off of that. And then during that whole time, they might not have as many numbers above ground, but they don't need them because they're in a dormant mode and they got all these bodies beneath ground. You know what I mean? Like the
yeah.
parasites is pretty much like, I already got my lunch. I don't need that right now. I'm waiting for my season. I'm pretty much like a buried seed. I'm gonna come back out. And every time you break down, you shred somebody, then you make way for that ability to make a chimera. You know what I mean? Every time you shred a being, then you can create those amalgamations where you can make like supposed new beings.
Shuffle the cards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I'm seeing it. I mean, is it a hive? It'd probably be a hive mind, right? Like there's no one individual parasite. It's all just one giant thing, like ants or bees.
yeah, like a fungus. Like it's like one thing. It's like one little network. Like it's no beginning or ending kind of to it. It's like a blob in a sense. Like it's a grid probably. It's like a parasite grid. Like it's probably just like a wavelength that it lives at, almost like almost like an address. And if you come into that wavelength, it can reach you.
I feel like, and if you get or if you get consumed by the blob, you can't come out of it with any memories.
Yeah, they all come discombobulated, and then you're probably born, and then you go through the memories backwards or in the shuffled arrangement. You same memories though.
Yeah, that makes sense. They're still there. It can't be taken from you, but you can just get hit with the amnesia and just mixed up and fragmented.
Yeah, so then now you just think that this chick is some chick that your cousin or is your sister or whatever, and like socially they'll be like, that's not your sister, that's not your cousin, but like actually spiritually, metaphysically, that's your sister or your cousin or your brother or whatever, however you want to look at it. And that's where I feel like it's at, man. I feel like it's at that space. Like I don't know if the parasite just went straight from cannibalism, because I feel like cannibalism probably led into the animal eating, like in the Twilight bullshit. I never watched it, but I got the concept that the vampires resorted to eating animals so that they wouldn't have to kill humans.
I
And
remember that.
I think that's probably what happened. You know what I mean? They probably was cannibals, and then they went to animal eating, and then now they get other people to eat the animals, and then they just like harvest
The
the
blood.
emotional energy. Yeah, yeah. I'm saying, yeah, that, and they're harvesting all that emotional energy. If you got everybody to get on the cannibal flow, eating animals and stuff, then you got a bunch of repressed emotion, bunch of repressed fear, and just chaos, just an assault. Like raising animals to eat them is an assault. Like every animal that you raise within a closed area is going to have more parasites than a wild one, and the wild ones people don't want to eat it because their parasites don't want it because they say it's too gamey, it's too natural.
Mm-hmm.
you know. So what I mean, like if you have farm fish, they got way more worms. Anything that's in a closed area, like closed pigs are filthy because they're in a closed area. Like it's just that's what happens whenever you farm anything. You farm these humans. At one point they probably had it to where there's less people on Earth. They're repopulating. And now you're using these harems and these asylums to breed these orphans or these incubators to make these orphans. And then now the clones don't even know they're clones, and they're just so vain from the culture that they're just going to have babies in this worldwide asylum that we're living in, this worldwide laboratory that we live in.
So there's clones, humans, and aboriginals. I kind of thought, I was thinking to separate those, not separate them, but you know what I mean, as far as like Like an aboriginal, that's not a human. That's a divine being, right?
Yeah, just like the original, I guess you can say like it's man. One is man, which is the original Aboriginal, and then human is the kin of man or the relative of man. You know what I mean? Like a subspecies, like a cultivar. You
Yep.
know,
And
and
then
then
there's a clone.
then you got something that's completely an abomination that's just like completely rogue. That's just an empty vessel. Like it's I guess it's all. And I guess at some level it's fair game. When you're an open vessel, you're open vessel. So if something comes through, it could be good or it could be bad. You're just a fucking open vessel. So the parasite's just gonna try to keep you in a zone to where you stay open for what's bad for you and what's bad for life or offensive.
And the opposite of the parasite is just going to do what it can to make whoever aware of their openings.
Yeah, it's just like pretty much kind of like what is a bad man but a good man's job type shit probably. Like
Type
what
shit.
is it?
Yeah.
What is a good man but a bad man's teacher or whatever. I think that's I guess that's it. The if you got 500,000 humans on Earth and then you got mainly original man on Earth, and man being womb man or man, then you could probably go through that process of teaching the human. It's almost like you got man or humans or whatever, original human or whatever you want to look at it, and then you got like human-like beings. And if you're the original and you want to teach these beings how to be more themselves, so they can share in the wealth and create more wealth on Earth, then you'd have to really be a really good example. And I guess that's the challenge. It's like even it's like a big workload to be even to, but at the same time, it's your nature to be perfect. So I guess it's not. Um, it's just
This
it's
is what the
always gonna.
Christ story was about, right?
Yeah, it's he knew that they motherfuckers had no power over him from early on. At 12 years old, he was telling rabbis and shit that like you guys are all an abomination.
And
So
they would just hate him for that. So that's crazy.
yeah, yeah. So I think pretty early on you got a heavy workload, but at the same time like I'm immortal. I'm immortal, experiencing mortality, and this is all just a challenge that I created. I am eternity, and I'm just experiencing this temporariness. Like kind of like anybody, playing a video game or whatever, or, doing something to challenge themselves. I guess because like if you play football on a field that never ended, how could you ever score? It's like you got to create some boundary. You got to
Yep.
create a time limit. It wouldn't be a game if it's like if imagine if the game was like forever and the field was forever. Then how could you score? How could you know when the game was over and who won or lost or whatever to really measure, quality? You know what I mean? You need some type of boundary. And so like I guess that's what the game is like the game of boundary, of time, you know, separation.
It would seem cool, like, man, I don't know. Would that be satisfying to like erase your memory and throw yourself in a challenge to see if you could figure it out anyways?
Yeah, I guess at some point you would take that challenge on if you just did everything. You would be like, all right, I've experienced everything. I've experienced everything except for not knowing myself. I don't know.
It's making sense. And there's no buts even. It's just like, I see something happening with being able to look at how we need limitation and challenges. And I was thinking when you were talking about needing bounds, I was thinking of like like the Olympic myths and shit like that, like these characters in eternity where these stories, there's like specific stories that are at play with myths in any culture. That's like where the myths are at. They're like superimposed beyond time, and it's like reflected in time. If that makes sense. In our activities or whatever we're doing in time, there's just challenges on challenges, whether it's like on a small time scale or of like a few hundred years, a few decades, a few hundred years, a few thousand years, a few like hundred, like a million years.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I guess it's just like seasonal, you know what I mean? You're like eternal, but then you have like seasons of being mortal. And then you just like, there's this recipe that is the recipe for you. And it's like only this recipe only arrives every so often, like every so many seasons. Like McDonald's got the McRib every so often or whatever that garbage is. So like it only comes out or the Shamrock Shake. It only comes out so long or so often. So you know you can only come into form seasonally, you know what I mean? So you probably come in, you do what you can with your season, and then you don't waste anything, whether it be time or energy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go back into the seed mode and wait for the next season, and then you just keep making the most of it. You know, I don't know, like a field of anything. You know, like a field of flowers. It's like like a forest can start off with one tree. So, you know, you got one tree drop a seed, and then or it has shoots, and the shoots shoot up and grow a whole network of trees, or before you know it, you got a field of flowers, and then now you've reached to the far end of the earth. Now you've traveled the whole earth through your patience, instead of trying to actually maneuver through the earth by like moving through it and like moving the earth.
Wow.
Moving the earth to dig up the whatever the resources that you got to propel yourself or whatever. It's crazy, man. I feel like it's such a wild thing. The light spectrum is really the life spectrum, and like some people have a full view of the life spectrum or a greater view, and some people have a smaller view of it. And it's like they say, like, are you a spiritual being having a human experience or a human having a spiritual experience? And I feel like some people are both. Some people are one, some people are other. Some people are humans or material beings, and they dream dreams of reality. And there's some people that are living and dwelling in reality, and they dream this life, and this is a dream to them. It's this temporariness is a dream, and they're spiritual beings having a human experience, and then you have more human beings having spiritual experiences, and they have their those experiences. It's like that's the spectrum, kind of, in a sense. Like, and I feel like some people have a greater view, some people don't.
You good? My bad. Yeah, I dare to say that, because I was going to bring that up too. That's another thing I have for this conversation, was that specific thing of like having a dream of reality from here, or being in reality and projecting yourself into here. And then from there, it's like there's two types of dreamers, and then I'd dare to say that you could probably divide those into further subcategories.
I mean, yeah, it's probably people that are like just dreaming nightmares too. You know what I mean? Like, or however you want to look at it. Like some people that are here creating nightmares for, that's like the design of that being. It's like, just I feel like everything's kind of here. And so the whole life spectrum is some people creating a utopia. They exist in utopia or whatever. Some people exist in dystopia. And if you have it's just like, yeah, like if you have a bunch of natural trees here, a bunch of silicon trees or whatever, they're going to resonate that reality. But if you have a bunch of abomination trees here, they're going to resonate a nightmare. And they're just going to project that, that reality and resonate that into the environment. So, yeah, I feel like, yeah, you definitely got different classes of trees.
It's that adrenal fatigue at night, sleeping, that just manifests the nightmares, I feel like.
Yeah. And then mare just means female. Like they call a female horse a mare. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I feel like it's just the whole parasite thing. You know what I mean? Like, sleeping, whenever you're asleep is when you're dead, is when you're being eaten. And whenever you're dreaming is when you're really actually being alive and being awake, or not awake, however you want to look at it. You're being conscious when you're really dreaming, or what you call a dream. It's like so many things in this word vomit, man, because dream means drum, and that, or trauma. So it's like you constantly going through this loop, you know what I mean, of like self-harm that the parasite's trying to keep you in to block the dream. to block the trauma, because the dream is the trauma, and that's what sleeping is. It's like you're revisiting the trauma, but it keeps getting blocked out, and then you keep getting raped for your energy, for your anxiety, fear, and anger, energy, and the trauma, and then you never fully realize it because the daily distractions that come up every so often in the day to block with the food, the sex, the sleep, all of that stuff is to block so that you don't realize the trauma. But if you go to sleep with energy, you go to sleep with nothing in your bowels, and you got silence inside yourself, and you're in darkness, and you don't have all that electromagnetic radiation around you, then you're going to just revisit traumas. In the beginning of cleaning out, you're just going to revisit the traumas. Getting healthy is painful because if you're getting sick, it's blissful. You're being ignorant, so you're ignoring, and your body's just becoming numb, so you don't feel nothing. But when you're going back to feeling and having sense and realization, then you're gonna have to go through that whole period of paying your dues, paying yourself back. You have to revisit all them traumas, go through all them dreams, so that you can get back to reality. So people came into this, projected into this, or beings projected into this, and then associated with this side, and it's like being in a matrix. They're like, their body is somewhere else being ran by a parasite, and like heaven might be being colonized in a sense, or maybe there's just a fail safe, and you can't colonize heaven, but you can colonize that energy or that body. I don't know, but it feels like somehow your true body is being colonized. You're associating with this artificial reality, and your true body's being drained. And the more that you revisit your dreams and collapse all the false dreams and get through the traumas, the more all of those timelines probably just come into one, and there won't be no separation between life and conscious dreaming or conscious REM or whatever.
And I was going to say, on your way to healing that pain that you're talking about, because you're saying healing, you're gonna sorting through all these unaddressed traumas is going to be painful in the beginning, and then not addressing those things is going to be blissful. It seems like going through the pain of healing, at the end of that, when you are healed, then you can have actual bliss, and that ignorance bliss isn't actual bliss, it seems like.
Yeah, it's just not, you're just not feeling, you're just giving, it's just the euphoria of giving up responsibility, like, I'm going on vacation or whatever, and just ignoring, and, just having like a temporary bliss that requires constant re-injection instead of, living in the moment, being present in the process, and never, ever leaving from that contentment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like that. It's the concept of just the unearned high. The endorphins or the euphoria of escapism, that being an unearned high, you are getting more sick. You feel good, but it's just equally at the same time, you're taking the same steps towards decay or whatever.
Yeah, like we were saying, like, you're getting high, and now you're feeling relaxed when you really shouldn't. You should be feeling like shit so that you can feel like shit, so that you can get through that feeling like shit, and then you no longer feel like shit again. But if you keep going and being satisfied with the temporary, then you're gonna infinitely feel like shit.
Or just infinitely smoke, or infinitely escape, or just run in circles forever.
Yeah, it's exhausting. It's miserable. Like, once you start to realize it, and I feel like it's inevitable that you realize it if you're a soul. It's probably not inevitable of realization if you're not a soul, but I feel like at some point you're gonna realize, like, man, my breath is getting heavy, and I gotta stop because I don't feel like how I used to feel at 17 or whatever, or whatever, you know what I mean? Because but if you never had a period of lengthy sobriety, well, I don't know if you have a reference point. You just have to really remember your childhood, and a lot of people not gonna really remember that shit because whether it's the food or the traumas. They don't even remember a time that was the time when their body felt good, maybe. So they don't have no point of reference of like, oh yeah, this is wrong. I need to feel different. I need to feel how I'm supposed to feel.
This is where the generational trauma comes in, because it's like the fear of your parents embedded in the fetus.
Yeah.
So even the parent is missing a reference. There's like references on references that are missing.
Yeah, and then that shit just grows, you know what I mean? Like, and so that's how you got that embedded fear. It's just like this subconscious fear because it's just like this summation of parents that like your body's like an amalgamation of all your grandparents or whatever and all their grandparents. So all of whatever they didn't get done is like congealed into you. You know what I mean? It's because it's like it's probably how it's supposed to go. Like whatever you couldn't get conscious of in your lifetime, whatever you couldn't experience, it seems natural that your son and daughter would experience that.
The residue.
You know? Yeah, like whether good or bad.
Exactly. Well, I feel like it's neither good or bad. You could choose one, and consciously you could be like, here, like the residue is what life's about, as far as working with that and making no waste in order to make the best life possible for yourself.
Yeah, like it could be something small. It's like, yeah, I've never been to Jamaica, so I want you. I hope you could travel the world. Do more than what I could do, and you could travel and see these places or whatever, do these things or whatever, and experience these experiences that I couldn't experience. And then your child will experience the things that you couldn't experience. And then collectively, we all experience that. We all process our traumas or whatever so that we don't stay hung up so that we can keep experiencing. And then, go moving forward, and
consciousness relay.
Yeah. And if you don't, I guess then you kind of just, as a family, you just get better at distracting.
Until you
not really experiencing. Yeah, and the parasite is experiencing your body. You're not really experiencing.
I see that.
It becomes so seamless though, man. Like the parasite's so heavily synchronized that it's like it's really not separate. You know what I mean? You're gonna think that it's you, but generations deep, you know what I mean? Like, they got a thing. It's a study called parasitology, and it's just talking about how it goes generations back of the same parasite. Like, and that's the thing with other people, you know what I mean? Having other people that are like combatants or against you or whatever, it's really literally probably just one entity working through them and working through you, trying to juice both of you and get the energy out of both of you. And it's really crazy like that. Like whether it's your parents or your grandparents or whatever, or your friends, your enemies, it's usually just this one queen parasite working through this hive. And she's got her finger in every pie in a sense, where she's got a piece of everybody. It's like I said, like the PCR test, man. Everything is everything. You can test anything for anything. Everything is within everything. So if you test the parts per millions, if you raise the parts per million on anything, like you're testing something in a PCR test, you can find anything and anything. So the parasite has some type of presence probably in everybody. It's just like how prevalent is the presence, if it's a person that is really themselves, then it doesn't even matter if the parasite has some sort of presence, like some minute presence in them. They already know themselves. Yeah, it's just like you know what I mean? It's so obvious that it's the parasite, so it can't even really work through that person to try to drain you. Mm-hmm. But if you're surrounded by people then that don't know themselves, then it's just going to be like, just a hive of one being in a sense, like in a negative way when it could, or an offensive way when it could be a hive of, one being that is it all themselves, all the self. And I really feel like, man, most of relationships at this point is like, you ever seen Love, Death Plus Robots?
No. Sounds crazy though.
On Netflix. It's all animated. It's like Black Mirror.
Okay.
It is. Yeah. Yes. I mean, it explores all the concepts that you couldn't explore with, actual humans. Like it's humans. It's so CGI that some of that shit looks real.
Damn.
Like Michael B. Jordan is in one of them, and it looks just like him because he did the green screen shit, so it looks just like him. It don't look like it. You can tell it's CGI, but in 10 years you ain't gonna be able to tell. Because in 10 years, they're going all them actors and shit, they're gonna just sell off their likeness, and they're gonna basically just sell their parasite to the people. Because then they never had to get old. It's like Marilyn Monroe. She died supposedly young. If she's dead or not, I don't know. But if she died, you never got to see her get old. So you get to sell this infinitely young image. So it's like if you're an actor or whatever, or a rapper or whatever, you just sell that. And then now, you got this infinitely young that they could use forever, has your likeness. But I was
But
just saying, yeah, it's crazy, man. But the fucking the Love, Death plus Robots got this one episode where the dude he's like crash landed in some other place, and some chick that he had a fling with like 4 years ago is there with him, and it's like two other people. It's like the movie Alien. They're like in the pods or whatever. You know, you can like sleep in the pods for 6 months, and
damn.
then like
Okay. I know a movie with Chris Pratt.
I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe not. It's a different show, but I still ain't see it. I don't watch any of these movies, damn, or
Yeah,
shows. Crazy.
yeah. So like the dude, he's like in the pods, right? It's him and two other people that was on his ship, and they're all in the pods or whatever. And he wakes up at the pod first, and then he wakes up to this chick that he had a fling with like 4 years ago. He's like, "What are you doing here?" Da 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 da. You know what I mean? And then they start fucking, and he like, "Yeah, I love you. I missed you. I don't know how. It's crazy that we both got crash landed here in this spot." And then the other bitch that he was with from his crew wakes up and from one of them other pods, and she's actually seeing the reality, and she's like, "Yo, that's not her, yo." And she starts trying to kill a bitch, like, "Yo, that's not her. Like, yo, do not. This is not who you think it is." And so they put her back to sleep and shit. And then eventually he finds out like the bitch that he was fucking is just a parasite that's keeping him in this projection, and he's just releasing his energy into her, into the parasite. But it's
Keep
so it's,
projection alive.
and I mean, just sucking his energy in. So he wakes up from the projection and he realized like he's like just skin and bones, and like everybody's just getting drained around him, and I feel like that's kind of like what a lot of relationships are, is like because the parasite can't create nothing, so it just uses whatever relationships you already have and abuses them, and it just rides on the pipelines of those relationships. So like I was saying, like you end up fucking your sister or your cousin or your aunt or your brother's wife from last lifetime or whatever it is. You end up because you have like fond connections with these people, but you're already scrambled, so you don't really know what's going on. You're lost in the projection.
And the pleasure, you just get drained through your pleasures.
Yeah, and so then and if you wake up, then you see the reality. You don't want to see the reality, so you want to go back to sleep. You go right back into sleep. A
Like, do
lot
you
of
even have enough energy to perceive reality at that point?
yeah, a lot of people have to just to accept dying and totally just returning back into it's kind of like I guess what you would say nothingness, or to just shredded pieces of shit, and then repurposing themselves on the other end. You know what I mean? Like the process is going to repeat. You're going to get shat out by the parasite, and you're going to have to retain some sense of self to where
But
the
no
next
memories.
time when the rodeo comes back around, you remember like, oh, that's what this is what's going on. I'm not going to feed this thing. I'm going to just keep taking my energy back and keep doing that. And it's just probably an arduous process that most people would rather go to sleep than do.
Well, it's like you're gonna go to sleep, but it's never gonna. It's not like it's never gonna end. It's crazy because if you don't remember what happened after you went to sleep and you wake up in a projection, and then you go, yeah, it's just back and forth. I guess I don't know, but in an unconscious way, where the other direction, it's like you can pass through and retain those memories.
Yeah, it's tough to get out the loop, man. Like Farrah was saying, he's like most beings can never get out the loop, and it's just because you get so synchronized with the thing, man. I don't know if you've seen the thing I posted about the teratoma tumors.
No,
You could Google teratoma tumors, man. Um, I know you probably heard of it though. They got tumors that have eyeballs and teeth and
okay.
and hair.
I didn't know what the name was, but you did mention that before.
Yeah, man. And like and they have it with cysts too. Like they had this one, if you Google it, they got this one chick, she talking about like, yo, they took this cyst out of my ovaries or my uterus or something, and it had hair and teeth. And it's like it's literally a false self growing inside of you, trying to take the government over your cells over, like a fucking coup d'etat over your fucking cells. And and basically reformulate a new headquarters somewhere else in the body and make the focus that part of the body, whether it's the liver or whatever you're abusing, the sex
Mhm.
organ, whatever you're abusing, it's trying to pull the energy there to that area so that all the cells, so all the blood and all the cells can be trained, all the energy can be trained by the false self that's forming physically
And the
and taking,
centralized government.
yeah, and it's killing off the true self. And I feel like that's why it's so hard to shake the parasite, because it's just shadowing you throughout lifetimes, and it just knows the shit that you're prone to. It's just constantly studying you, and if you're distracted, you're not studying you, and it's studying you. So it's like a better student of you at that point.
That's why I don't even like to take recommendations from the YouTube algorithm. Even it could be some video that I legit like really like, and that pisses me off.
I know,
Yeah,
I know, I know.
nah, it's
I
just
feel
wild.
that's the only way you can stop the shit though, is to be like, what wouldn't I do right here? What would I not do? That's what I probably should do. And then you got to kind of question that sometimes once you
Yeah.
get into the habit of that.
Because it really, that's how you could change it. I don't know how far out, like if you're not thinking about this at all, how far out could you be predicted? Like years or a whole life could be predicted. But if you start moving like how you're saying, it's like you can start to cut that time to how far out you could be predicted until it's just in this moment and you just can't be tracked.
Yeah, at that point, then you shake off that organic parasite GPS system.
Yeah.
But yo,
Yeah.
at this point though, it's really just like, I think you just gotta learn yourself as much as you can, even while you're hosting this fucking site, because we're I feel like, yeah, we're in a game. The game has a time limit. If you got an injury, you playing with the injury. It's like, fuck it. I'm not gonna let the injury stop me from winning the championship. I gotta learn
Hell no.
myself.
Okay, you hear me?
Yeah.
Cool.
I feel like, yeah, like at this point, we're all playing kind of handicap. It's like, all right, fuck it. The parasite's there. I just got to make sure that it has a minute presence. Keep the devil in his hole. And, when it comes out, it'll be obvious because it's coming out that hole. And I know exactly, what's myself and what's not myself. So I know the likeness of the parasite and what the likeness of the self is. But I don't think at this point we're going to really be able to shake them fully. I think it's just like really learning yourself so that when the game ends and the clock is over, that you can hit that game winner and you're like, all right, I've dissociated with the parasite totally, to where it's like whatever. It's like whatever, you can eat that husk. I'm gonna move on to another more ethereal being, a state of being.
Yep. Yep. Kobe's finger.
Yeah, because like that's what the parasites. I mean, it's probably supposed to be there as like, as Magic Johnson's Larry Bird, just to push you. Like, hey man, soon as you start fucking up, I'm gonna take over as an autocorrect system, as an autocorrect program. As soon as you start fucking up, I'm gonna drive you into the grave so I can eat you, and you're gonna restart this thing, and I'm gonna be even stronger. So that you're gonna have to be even stronger than that. So I feel like, in a sense, it's kind of like, I guess you can look at it in a positive way.
If your life's temporary, if you only got like 70 something years or like a few 120 years or something like that, it's like, okay, I can put up with it for this lifetime, and then when it's over, I actually can release. Like, that's that challenge I really wanted. I was really looking for. Thanks, Dad, or whoever's like orchestrating this to give us these types of challenges.
And then the only thing that it eats is the dead husk. It doesn't eat anything. It doesn't get any access to anything deeper than that. It's just getting the dead husk that you're already done with anyway.
Feel safe.
Yeah, because what's supposed to happen when you drop the body anyway? Something's gonna have to dematerialize it. You know what I mean? It's just, no, I feel like it's just this part of the game. The game, it's just part of the game at that point. Like, you came into the system. This body is part of the game. It's part of the material. So it's part of the game. It's really kind of not part of you. It's just like a reflection of you, like a reflection of your shadow almost. And like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like this, I can go through my processes, realize myself, move on, and then whatever happens this is part of the game. I'm leaving the game. I'm leaving this with it. and I'm gonna, regenerate something for another level of the game that works for that level. Because I can't even bring. It's like if you could go into another level of the game, why would you want to bring in a shittier, like, you know what I mean, a shittier, like why would you want to bring in like the college version of you if you can go with the pro version? Like you go moving on
Yeah.
to the pro level. You don't want to be the collegiate level no more, so you leave the collegiate level behind. That body, you leave it behind, and you move on to the next thing. It's another level, and you regenerated another body that's better. And it's like, the parasite's just gonna study that old body and try to, reformulate to create something that be your best enemy that it could be in the next level. And then you just keep doing it. I think that's probably the process, you know what I mean? Like it just, to keep making a stronger challenge, you know what I mean? Like, cause that's
Either
kind of
for
like
you
your
or for
strategy.
others.
What's up?
Oh, to make I said either for you or for others. Like it could use your husk and study that to make a harder challenge for you, or it could use that to like lord over some other reality somewhere else.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. And then that reality can grow because it's got a greater challenge now. Cause they're
Wow.
going to they're going to study whatever is oppressing it, Yeah, man. I don't know. On a lighter note, though, have you seen the AI art?
Bro, I do not fuck with that shit. I mean, so I've seen some like dark AI art. I don't know if there's like some really like beautiful stuff.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, bro, you can put anything in there. You know what I mean? You can put like Monet or whatever style. You're like, let me get a Monet style painting, like, because every time anybody uploads their art, it's basically feeding the system.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just it's just scanning the whole internet for all different types of art and like making composites in like a flash. So like every time humans generate something, they feed that system. Like that's probably why we should just share shit within ourselves organically, man, or burn shit. Or, like once it's done, like you know,
Hmm.
I feel like we just feeding the beast at this point. Like, cause like you see the shit, man. If you look online, if you search any type of beat, every 2 seconds, if that, a new beat is being uploaded, and everything is samples. So I don't see how in the next 5, 10 years how it won't be totally AI making beats. Like it's very little human involvement at this point anyway. It's not like you playing the instrument,
There's
you know.
still shoemakers though. Like people still buy shoes from shoemakers. And those are some good ass shoes.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's still plenty of motherfuckers making shoes, and the textile like industry still exists, but it's basically like organic AI at this point. But you know what I mean? It's a bunch of drone people or people that's like pretty much hooked up to that mesmer machine, working in them sweatshops, and I feel like how long until they obsolete? People used to make the clothes, and now the machines make the clothes, and it's just getting to that point, like where it's just impossible to operate, like unless you operate like organically within each other, and like you already have to have some type of infrastructure within each other. Like you got to stand on your own 2 feet, then you trade with someone else that's doing that, and they're operating organically, and the next person and around them, and it's like that's why I feel like at this point, I don't know. You kind of got to save yourself, man. I feel like the game itself is God about to turn the game off, press reset on the whatever PlayStation 11 or whatever one is out now. You know what I mean? They're about to press reset, the reset button,
Yeah.
and it's like you might as well just win the game that you in, so that when the shit resets, that you in another game, a better game. Huh?
And that's why I'm still looking at lucid dreaming as like the number one priority.
Yeah, that's it, man. You can't die before getting in touch with them.
Hmm.
Imagine dying before you ever really dream. You'd be
Yeah.
stuck here forever.
Yeah. That's yeah. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it. It's making sense. Like even with the beats and stuff like that, just things being social, the original social media being dreams.
Yeah, like
That's what kind of.
the beats, man. Like I feel like it's not even that you motherfuckers can't make dope shit. It's just that it's such a saturated. Everything's so saturated that, and then yeah, you upload into a system that's just gonna take from you. So it's like everything's just gonna mimic you. Every time you make something, it's just mimicking you. It's just taking the shit, mimicking you, and then doing that with everybody, and then making like a super you. And then it's like how many, every time it's like fighting fire with fire to keep giving to it.
It makes sense. I mean, I touched that because I was trying to remember what I was thinking of and trying to remember what I want to talk about. But is this? It's just dream. I was dreams being the social media.
Yeah, I don't know why you would even. It's like really like, I mean, I've had dreams of Instagram. I've had dreams where I'm looking at Instagram and I see a bitch picture and then I click on the picture and then I go into the picture with her in my dreams. So I know Instagram already existed probably kind of infinitely. It was always there in this game. And then now it's just coming, it's creeping into the physical. Like kind of like if you say like the pyramids was buried underneath the sand and then you see the tip of the pyramid start to come out and then there's more sand push away and then now you see the whole pyramid. That's kind of like how I feel like it is with Instagram. Like it was already there kind of within the game, in the ether of this game. And now it's coming into the physical, like the Akashic records always existed etherically, and then it started to form in books and libraries, and then the computer and all of that type of shit. Like it's always been here. It's just like the density of it. You know what I mean? So I think that's how I think, man. I feel like it's it's all the Instagram and the Facebook and all of that. That's like a grid on top of the organic grid. The inorganic grid probably been forming metaphysically a long time ago. Like an inorganic metaphysical situation, because like that's kind of what this dream is. It's like an inorganic dream or an inorganic reality. So like I feel like like the Instagram is kind of like just a layer of that, you know what I mean? And so it exists in this dense situation where you pick up the phone and look at it, and then it exists etherically where you dream and connect with people. And then it's like that ultimate reality, or absolute reality, or whatever, where like you're experiencing consciousness unobstructed, and you're in eternity, or you are eternity, and you connect in the real social media, and it's not this antisocial shit with these filters and all these barriers and shit, all these grids on top of grids.
These inorganic materials.
Yeah, it's not all these extra added ingredients. There's no MSG, motherfuckers.
And so anything that's just popular is what functions the best, and it was already there in the ether, just waiting. It was already in the ether functioning. So if it's popular here in the physical, it's just like that was invented, and that's just is that real? Like people just resonated with it on all levels. So once it's at this density, it manifests at this density as stuff like Instagram, Facebook. But we've already been, liking each other's work or whatever.
Yeah, it's like a loop. It's like the loop reality thing, man. Where like, if you bury some gold and then you die, and then 6 lifetimes later you find the gold and you think, I found some gold. Like, and it's really just like the same thing with Instagram. Like, like you're a metaphysical community from eternity, and you create this temporary, infinite, false eternity, and the things that come with that. You create the Instagram, all the inventions that could possibly manifest within it, and then you go through all the different stages of experiencing this infinity, this loop, and then you come back to shit, and you're like, oh, it's Instagram. You know what I mean? It seems like a new thing, but it's like, yeah, you were part of the founding of it, probably. Because it's just like a collective.
That's wild. That's fucking wild. Damn. Yeah. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah,
All
yep.
right. Yeah.
No,
Cool.
I was just thinking about it though, man. Like how much I connect on the gram, or how much that when I go to sleep, I'm on social media still, but like,
Mm-hmm.
but like super social media. And then I know that there's a more real one than that because I know I see the insignia and everything that it's Instagram, that it's a bunch of cells, basically a bunch of fucking boxes, little prison cells of pictures that you can access the likeness of this person, and you go into the dream and you access that, and then depending on whether they know themselves or not, you know, you interact in there, and then maybe they wake up remembering you. And I mean, a good portion of them remembers you, and then maybe you connect. But at the same time, it's like the parasite driving your energy, creating all these connections that already exist, or tapping on these connections that already exist. And you know, now you're waking up to friend requests and people following you and liking your shit. But you know, there's just the parasite connection because sometimes I feel like, you know, I connect with a chick and I know like when I'll have sex with her, say I have sex with a chick 100 times. It's like maybe 20 of them times was self, you know, and then like 70 of them times was like a mix of self and like the parasite.